You can note whatever you want, but we're going to send the presentation slides afterwards to you. Okay, so who are your hosts of today? Let me introduce you to Anton Boon and Thomas Dubois, both active at Threon. Anton is senior consultant and trainer and coach, and also managing partner at Threon. He's co-hosting this webinar together with Thomas Dubois, who is agile coach and trainer, so specialized in our agile offering, and is also innovation and partnership manager at Threon. We're super happy to invite today Julian van der Laan. He's an enterprise agile coach and product specialist at Target Process. So just before we start, I will quickly introduce who's Threon, who's Target Process, so you know that a little bit too. So about Threon, we're founded in 2001, so we're celebrating next year 20 years of Threon. Our core is really the PPP, so project program and program management, portfolio management, sorry, in all kind of forms. So that means in waterfall environments, it means in hybrid environments, but also in full agile environments. We're currently located in Ghent, Brussels, Delft, and Luxembourg, and we're really known for our full service offerings. So going from academy training, offering to consulting, products, and peer delivery. As stated, Target Process is here today. They have an international offices around the world. They're actually most known for offering customers a software platform for adopting and scaling agile in all its forms. But Julian will show you a demo of their software platform, so stay tuned for that. They're even recognized as by Gartner as leader in agile lifecycle management. So really great reference there. Okay, so then I give the floor now to Anton Bonen, who will start. So again, if you have questions, just ask them. I will make sure they get answered by our experts. Enjoy.
Thank you, Maite. Good morning from Belgium here. And thank you for joining this this interesting topic, which we have been executing in practice at our customer base, and that's why we were eager to share it to you, to the viewers, because when we look at our customer base, it is clear that a lot of companies are aware that change in their organization is necessary to come to certain benefits. And the benefits could be on different areas, could be new products, could be image, could be Euro, could be ENPS, NPS, and so forth. So we need some change in the organization sometimes to come to those benefits. But what evidence do we have in really getting there, in achieving those benefits? So when we look at this question where companies are struggling with, and I will not go through all of them, but the bottom two I think are I think a lot of companies struggle with the same. Change is necessary, but how do I come to the correct initiatives to come to that change to finally achieve those benefits? So the key is in the definition and the choosing of the proper initiatives to get the change what I need. And secondly, on the right hand part, we have teams working on those initiatives, but how do we make clear why they are why the hell they are supporting or executing that work package or that initiatives? How can I make clear where the initiative, the project is situated in? So when we talked internally about these questions, we matched that with what we know in our program management background, knowledge base. And there is this BRM methodology where there is one technique called benefit mapping, which you can use in those cases. Benefit mapping, which we will explain you in a moment how this works, and we will even show you cases, real cases. And that can work in different environments, whether it is still the more traditional waterfall approach, or this agile approach, or even this waterfall approach. Whatever, the benefit mapping can help you to make it more tangible. Well, now, an interesting question, what I started in the beginning with, is we have in a certain, at the right-hand side, strategic objectives set by management. So that would be strategic choices, objectives stated by management. And on the left-hand part, we want to come to what we call enablers. Could be projects, could be features, could be whatever, what is necessary. What is necessary for the company finally to come to these strategic objectives. So the question mark is in the middle, and the benefit mapping technique is the answer for that. We start this exercise every time from the right, where we start from the strategic objectives, and we make this translation exercise from the right to the left. And in the end, you will have a clear view why these initiatives are supporting these objectives. First step in this is, how can I make these strategic objectives more measurable, more tangible to understand? Because in many cases, these strategic objectives are a little bit more high level. So we want in the first step to translate them more measurable. And that could be in different environments. Even last week, when I was at the city, the question or the benefit was an example, how can I get more visitors in the city center? So that's really measurable. And then when this is done, so the strategic objectives translated in measurable benefits, we go to the next layer, which is the translation from the benefits to what we call the new capabilities. A capability is actually a future state, a future situation, a desired competence we want to have in the company. So we translate those measurable benefits into new capabilities we need for the organization. And then the last step is, if we need those new situations, the desired future state, what are the initiatives, projects, and programs which can help us to come to that state? The key is in really following this structure, going from right to left, and not jeopardizing in too many directions, going from right to left and left to right and so on. You make this exercise really in a structured way. An example. This is a real example where there was this company imagining how they could give more value to their customers. And that could be by innovation. So the real strategic objective stated here was, how can I grow in innovation considered by customer? Now, this translation was then set in, well, if we could offer maybe 3 completely new developed techniques, right, and brought that to the market, that would really be a proof in having grown in innovation. Same for turnkey service-oriented project. If we can do that in 3 years, offer 3 turnkey service-oriented projects, probably our customer would consider us as more innovative as before. Then the second step was how to translate that into those new capabilities, looking at this innovative partner post-it. The translation was made how to incorporate, for instance, Internet of Things solutions in their products, or how can I create this innovation mindset with the staff. So these were the desired future states defined. And then last step was how can I translate those future states into concrete project? And there was this one technology project, there was this one model analysis being developed, and so on. So real translation of. If you're going to summarize this technique, and Thomas will explain how you can do that in different environment. If you want to summarize, it's a real balance between new ideas popping up, mostly bottom up, and linking them to top-down strategy. But you make the exercise, for instance, once a year, and you rebalance each quarter, each 6 months, this complete exercise, starting from the right and going to the left. It's very visual. So in the end, you will have a clear view on why this initiative is there and what it will support. It will give you a solution or an answer, which is a complete exercise. It is not yet defining which initiatives first. It's only giving a complete overview on the strategic translation. So you start from the end objective and work towards the initiatives you need, instead of just identifying a number of projects and hoping they will serve this objective. You start from the right. So that was my part. Now I leave the word to Thomas.
Thank you. Good morning from my side as well. As Anton stated before, we've been using this technique for over many years, and last couple of years, and I've been working for Threon for 6 years now. And last couple of years, and even in those 6 years, we saw an enormous change in the market towards more agile techniques, lean portfolio management, and well, we still felt this technique is useful and could be applied in agile environments. So that's why we looked at the technique and applied it or changed it a little bit, modified it a little bit so that it matches in an agile environment. And I saw an interesting question in the chat. How does it link actually with OKRs? Well, I'll come back to that in a minute. OKRs is a technique which is being used in agile environments, which is also a technique which exists already for quite some time, but is quite popular in scaled agile environments these days. So nevertheless, the environment changed. There were, and I think most of you will acknowledge that the COVID has made a big impact on your portfolio and the organization you've been working. It could be that you're now introducing new projects, new products, that you had to reprioritize the portfolio that was being selected in the beginning of this year. Maybe budget cuts required some reprioritization, some projects to be stopped and some others to be started again. So what we see is not only due to COVID, but also market changes, customer requirements, just asking us as a company to be more flexible, to change our strategic direction, and change the projects that we select more rapidly than ever before. But nevertheless, the environment changes. We can still use this technique, and that's what I want to explain to you in this part, is how to use this technique actually in a more agile environment or in a hybrid environment. And when we look at the Scaled Agile framework, and some of you know it, maybe some others don't know it. It's too much to explain in this webinar, all parts of it. But what you can do is you can use this benefit mapping technique at different levels. You can use this at organizational level. Imagine a very large organization which consists out of thousands of people and big departments with maybe thousands of people within a certain department. Well, in that case, you can use this benefit mapping technique to state your strategic objectives and translate them up to the level of capabilities. It would be probably be a chaos if we use this technique up until the enabler level, which Anton explained, where we have next to the capabilities the projects that would show us a really huge wall full of projects linked with strategic objectives and a lot of lines in between. So at the organizational level, the really big organizations, I would say you can use this technique to translate strategic objectives up until the level of capabilities, and then you give a certain autonomy to value streams, which is multiple teams that are working together to deliver a certain value to your customer. Multiple teams of teams could still be a couple of hundred of people, and there for those people you can have what are the translate the strategic objectives of your organization towards what are the objectives of this value stream. And then in the value stream you can go one level deeper. You can show how every project or every epic that you're taking up upon in the value stream, how this links and correlates up until the strategic objectives, or first the objectives of your value stream. And you can even use this technique at team level or teams of teams level, meaning that for every quarter we say this is our focus of the work packages that we as a team or as a team of teams are going to take upon. Well, if you go one level deeper than your project level, you can even map the big features towards your projects, your project linked to your capabilities linked to your strategic objectives. If we look at this technique and we apply it and we add some agile sauce to this technique, we changed the order of strategic objectives and benefits. We changed it. Voila, you can see it here. The order, and the reason is why we wanted to match it with OKRs, and also let's say that your strategic objective is to improve your internal employee engagement. Next thing you want to do is make this tangible and make this measurable. And how do you make this measurable? Well, you can improve your employee net promoter score. You can increase the average time that people are working for your company. Or you can increase the number of people that are hired due to employees referring the vacancies to the network and people they know. So these are measurable things to measure your strategic objective, which is to improve your internal employee engagement. We match this with the OKRs, and the OKRs is actually an abbreviation of objectives and key results in the Scaled Agile framework, the latest update 5.0, which was in the beginning of this year. They introduced this technique, or they added this technique as a way to express the strategic goals of an organization. Your objectives are rather vague. They're inspirational. They're short. They're engaging. And then with your key results, you try to make them measurable. So OKRs is a way to express your strategic objectives and make them measurable. And you can, as I stated before in the previous image, you can apply this benefit mapping technique at different levels in the organization. And the deeper you go in detail, or the deeper you go into your organization, the more elaborate this technique can be. Okay. Short recap before we dive into a small exercise together. So. Your strategic objectives being the O of your OKRs, you state them, you start from the strategic objectives, and then you make them measurable, which is then the key results, or in the technique as we used to know it, which is called the benefits. We make your strategic objectives measurable, and then we go again to the left. We state here, this is the capabilities are the desired future state of the company. What are the capabilities that need to change within the company? And the example I gave from increasing your employee engagement, a capability could be to have your people working together across different silos. This could be a capability, one that you can solve by letting them work more in agile teams and using this value stream approach, using an agile release train or a team of teams approach. So your capability is to have people collaborate across silos, and another capability in this example could be to have a fun working environment. And those are still desired future states. They're not yet deliverable based, they're not yet tangible. So that's why in the next step, you want to go to your epics, and your epics are then epics, or some companies even call them still call them projects. Your epics are then split up into large work packages or features. You notice that in this technique, in order to match them, we started from the strategic objectives. We made them measurable, so we go one step to the right. But then, when thinking about which capabilities that we need, we start from the objectives again. And so we know what is the strategic direction of the company, and then we translate them into the capabilities. And we don't make the link. You could make the link, but in this example, we don't make the link between your objectives, your key results and your capabilities, because your objectives are measurable, but your capabilities will contribute or will be more easily fittable or linkable with your objectives. So looking at this this image before we go into an example, it helps us in two ways. It helps us to explain to the teams why the hell are we doing the things that we are doing. So meaning we look from left to right, but it also helps to explain to management and the rest of the organization, how are we going to achieve our strategic objectives. Let's dive into an example, and let's do it in group. So you can use the chat function, and I can monitor it here, or you can just speak up and give the answers in group, whatever you want. So in this example, we're going to create a small benefit map together, and we start from a strategic objective, which is we want to create with our company an awesome customer experience. In the next step, we're going to define some key results. So the objective is defined. How are we going to make this objective measurable? Do you have any idea, or does anyone have any idea?
Okay, it's still quiet.
So if you would have one key result, how you could make your awesome customer experience, which is inspirational, it's engaging, but still too vague to make it measurable. So that's what we want to do first. How are we going to measure in 1 year that we are having an awesome customer experience, or in 2 years? And
can you maybe give this example, or that we can start? Oh, we have one person saying measure feedback 1 to 5, where a result above 4 is considered awesome.
Yeah, that's indeed a very good one. We came up with, I can show you, we came up with improve the net promoter score, but it's similar. Voila, there it is. You could consider the net promoter score, which is indeed scoring your net promoter score, and that indeed. Another one could be make sure that your repurchasing rate of people buying again your products and solutions, that one increases. Make it measurable from X to Y, from X percentage, or increase with X percentage. But also make it, you don't want to do this at all costs. So you probably want to maintain your customer acquisition cost under a certain amount of euro. Next is the capabilities. So then again, we start from our strategic objectives, and we think about, okay, in order to create an awesome customer experience, what could be a desired future state? It means a competence that we don't have today, a way of working that we don't have today. What do we need in order to be able to create an awesome customer experience? Does anyone has an idea? So remember that your capability is still a future state. It's not yet a specific project. It's not yet a specific deliverable. In our previous example, where we said we want to increase our employee net promoter score, we want to increase our employee engagement. There we said some capabilities could be, let's have the teams work together, and let's make create a fun working environment. What could be in this example where we create an awesome customer experience? What could be a capability?
Seems like to be a difficult one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one typing.
Oh, let's go back. Yep. Let's wait for the answer. Think about, for example, your company today, where the voice of the customer. Yeah, set up the voice of the customer. If I understand it well, it's having more the voice of the customer in your product offering, and listening more, being more customer centric towards your customer. It's indeed it's a very good one. It's a very relevant one these days as well, which is still not a project. It's still not an epic. So in the next step, we need to translate this one into, but how are we going to achieve this? How are we going to enable this change within the organization? So we have a kind of a similar one here in the middle. More automated services, indeed. This is still, we want to have an automation or automated services. It's kind of similar with, we want to have our service offering or our product offering more digital. That's also a capability, being more digital in our offering towards the customer. And yet it's not specific deliverable based. So in the next step, we look at the enablers, the epics, the initiatives. To conclude the exercise, maybe one example to what could be an enabler to be more customer centric, or to listen more to the voice of the customer. Or you can use an epic to what Steve is to Steve's example of more automated services. At this level, we're talking about project level. So I can come up with an example. Let's take the first one, the middle one here of our capabilities, which was quite similar to Laura's example. A way to be more customer centric is start working agile at team level, for example, or use a kind of business intelligence in order to really get a grasp on who is our customer, what is the market environment in which our customer is, and change the way we adjust our product and service offering to the customer based on real feedback of the market and the customer. Okay, so this is an exercise, of course, that you cannot do in 5 minutes. We need some time, and it also needs some iterations to do so. But it's very useful. You can see that it links the work that we are doing with the strategic objectives, whether it is in an agile environment or in a non-agile environment. It's a relevant technique to use. Also, and this is something that we did at a customer of ours. It's the example that Anton gave. It was a customer that didn't worked in an agile way before, but we started with this benefit mapping technique and coupled the pilot projects for which we wanted to start working agile on this benefit mapping. So two things we did. We started 2 pilots, in fact. One was with this innovative Internet of Things project, which was big enough project. It was 30 engineers. It was big enough to really start creating a stable, multidisciplinary agile team around one project for a longer period of time. So that was one period, one pilot. And the second one was we built an agile team around the capability, and this was an agile team which was consisting out of HR, but also people from the business, and they worked around this capability. And within this capability, they came up with new work packages, with new projects and initiatives. And they prioritized based on what was coming in from initiative. So you can use this technique as a start for your agile transformation, or you can use it within your agile transformation, as I showed you on the big scaled agile picture before at different levels of the organization. So as this is, we gave some theory, we gave some examples, but we thought it would also be nice and interesting to see how does it work in the tool. And as we are partner of Target Process, we asked Julian to join us and to show how this could look like in a tool, and how things are, how work is connected up until the lowest level, the work package, the things that the teams are working on, up until the strategic objectives of the organization. And he will also explain how it supports the OKRs. Julian, up to you.
Thank you, Thomas, and thank you for having this webinar together to talk about bridging the gap between delivery and strategy and execution. We at Target Process, we're committed to providing the needed transparency from an agile work and portfolio managed perspective. So let me share my screen so we can look at the details. Okay. Before I dive into the tool, a few pictures to show what Target Process is made of and what kind of information, what kind of data you can keep in Target Process. Here you see a simplified version of our data model, which shows a lot of items. Main part is at the bottom, and what we're going to talk about today is the objectives and key results and the work items that will relate to them. All the rest is for another time. So if we zoom in on these parts, you see here in Target Process, we support 3 levels of OKRs. So we have an ultimate objective, a strategic objective, and a tactical objective. Those are usually used with different scopes and different timelines. An ultimate objective could be something like a vision, a goal, an aspirational goal you set in over 5 years. A strategic objective is something that you want to accomplish within a year, and a tactical objective could be a quarterly goal that is connected to that year. Each of them, they are in a hierarchy, and each of them can have their own set of key results. If you're in your organization, you use different terminologies, like you want to use vision, company, team objectives. Those, of course, can be renamed so they match with your own terminology. If you look at the right-hand side, you see that we can link the work items, typical agile work items, like portfolio, epic, or feature or user story. You can link them to the objective. So you can see, okay, what experiments, what initiatives are we doing to trying to achieve one of these objectives that we measure with their key results. Okay, so enough pictures. Let's have a look how it how does it look in the tool. So this is Target Process. You will see on the left-hand side, you will see the navigation. I will click through that a bit to show you different screens, and in the middle you see the visualization of a piece of data that is inside Target Process. So if we start at the top level of the OKR hierarchy, on this objectives hierarchy view, you see I chose the ultimate objective saying, okay, we want to be amongst the top 3 level market leaders in reputation and revenue in 2025. Okay, so how do we link that to some other strategic objectives? If we open that one up, you see we have a number of strategic objectives. One of them is similar to the example Thomas gave. We want to be recognized to have an awesome customer experience. And if we open that one up, we could say, okay, we need to have a great infrastructure stability, and we should increase the knowledge of our support agents so that we could get good ratings on that. If we then look at one of these strategic objectives. So, for example, we look at the this one here, to be recognized to have an awesome customer experience. We can open that one up and go into our key results. So the key results are like improve net promoter score, increase your repurchase rate, and keep your customer acquisition score under some amount here, $300. Just like the example Thomas gave. If we open up the strategic objectives, you see that you can have a description here. You have your key results. And the cool thing with these key results is they need to be measurable. As Thomas showed, if your key result doesn't have a number, it's not a good key result. So in the title here, it says improve net promoter score from 30 to 50. And in a tool, we need to split that out a bit in order to make this data usable for nice graphics or measurements. So we say, okay, what is the result type? Well, result type is NPS. We start at 30. We want to go to 50. And our current latest NPS measurement says we are at 45. So actually, we're doing quite well. And we can do that with all these key results to make them actually measurable and report progress and those kind of things. Next to linking it to key results, we can also link this objective to different epics, different initiatives that we want to achieve in order to improve our key results. So maybe we have an epic about metrics, we want to have a lot of measurements in the system, or we want to do a go-to-value consulting program that we think that will help with customer experience. Similarly, of course, we can go one level deeper into features. Okay, if we want to see how we are doing on progress of work and objectives, we can visualize that very nicely on a status dashboard, where we have different reports or visualizations on how we're doing with this progress. So here you have your ultimate objective. Say, okay, we want to be this top 3 market leader. We had some key results, revenue increase with 500%, and we want to have a year-over-year customer satisfaction score. And here you see, okay, how are we doing towards that target? If you look at another report, you see this is a graphical overview of the progress of strategic objectives. And here you see for each key result linking to the strategic objective, how are we doing? The good thing in target process is these graphs and reports, they're all interactive. So it's not just a pretty picture with a number, but you can actually dive into the graph and seeing, okay, why is this number showing on this graph? What data is used for that? So you could go from the graph right back into the strategic objective, into the key result, and open up the key result. So you can click through from anywhere to everywhere. If we then want to go into execution, so how are we actually managing or following the work that links to these OKRs? We could do that in the following way. We have a way to plan the work. So in your portfolio roadmap, you could plan portfolio items over time with some milestones and some dependencies. This is what we call a roadmap view. Then if you want to plan it a little bit deeper, you could say, okay, what are the dependencies between the work items that we have planned? So you have your different work items, show them in a kind of a board mode with dependencies between them to see, okay, where do we need to focus on in order to make sure that we actually deliver on our initiatives. And then during the quarter, you want to probably track progress. So you have features and you have them in a Kanban view. And target process helps you by highlighting where you are probably creating a bottleneck. So if I would add one more item into this analyzing state, it would highlight in red saying, hey, here you're creating a bottleneck because you're trying to do more work than actually you are capable of doing. So let's not do that. And almost at the end, you can also, of course, like with the OKRs, you can click through your whole work item hierarchy. So you start from an epic level, you click through your features into user stories. And if you open a user story, you can even see the tasks of the people that are working on in this team. And like with the OKRs, we have some very nice, beautiful visualizations to keep track on how we are doing, realizing the work that ultimately we'll need to do in order to achieve our objectives. So this would be a great way to show on a big monitor in the hallway, broadcasting to everybody, hey, this is the work that we're currently doing. This is the current status. And that was all I want to show today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Juriaan. Are there any questions for Juriaan that you want to ask right now? Then do it via the chat or just unmute your microphone. Well, it seems that everything was quite clear, Juriaan, so thank you for your demonstration on the tool. It was very interesting. Okay, now giving the word back to Anton or Thomas.
Yes, you can. You still have a minute to think about your the questions that you want to ask us while I'm concluding the webinar. 4 things that this benefit mapping technique will help us to do. First thing is make your strategic objectives measurable by using the benefits or by using the objectives and key results technique. It also helps to create transparency on why are we doing these strategic objectives and aligning the execution with the strategy of the organization. And alignment helps the teams to better collaborate, because if you know how your work that you're doing on a daily basis is contributing towards the strategic objectives, it helps to improve the collaboration, but it also creates ownership based on the value and the strategic direction that you want to go to as a company, and not based purely on the outcome or deliverables. So if in the meanwhile you would have some questions, don't hesitate to ask them. You can ask them via your microphone or via the chat, and we will stay here to answer the questions.
Indeed. Okay, thank you very much, Anton, Thomas, and Juriaan. So if there are any other questions, just ask them right now. And otherwise, I think we can conclude the webinar for today. Oh, there's a question coming up from Chris. What tools and techniques would you suggest for prioritization and agile decision making?
Well, I like to use the one from Scaled Agile. The one that they proposed is, if you look at your projects, you can prioritize based on different kind of things. First, look at the business value of each project. Look at how time critical it is, and business value, that I mean really mostly it will be economic business value. So you can look at business value, you can look at time criticality. How time critical is this project compared to the other projects that I have in pipeline or that I have identified? And third one is look at opportunity enablement and risk reduction, because sometimes you will have projects that you need to do before you can do another project. Or, for example, setting up in a digital environment, setting up your database structure might enable a lot of different projects in different business units, because if you have the database structure right, then this allows you to make interfaces for different product categories, for example. So look at these 3 items and look at, for each project, compare the business value, the time criticality, and opportunity enablement and risk reduction. And you can compare your projects relatively towards each other. So how you could see this is you can print like a post-it of each project, and then set them or lay them down in an order. Like this one is contributing more towards business value than the other. This one is contributing more than the other, and do this for the 3 parts. And in the end, you will have an overview, and still will be kind of a mathematical outcome. So use your common sense afterwards to look at the results. It will help you to make it more objective, but look at the results, and don't forget to use your gut feeling as well in the final prioritization.
Okay, clear answer. Thank you. Okay, great. I don't see any other questions coming up, so I think you can conclude here. Thank everybody for joining our webinars. I'm going to send you the presentation, so don't wait for that. And let's stay tuned and stay connected with each other, because we're going to organize other webinars in the area of portfolio agility. So we will definitely keep you informed on that too. Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Yes, we can share the recording afterwards. Thank you, Peter.